Welcome to this week's episode of Merricks Garage. Pardon my appearance, I am knees deep in getting the K30 Blazer ready for my trip up to the Rubicon. I think it's ready to go. I had a big long list. I've banged out a lot of it on there. And the stuff that I haven't, well, that's just gonna make the trip interesting, I guess. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you for stopping by. I am a lover of four-wheeling, of trucks, of getting people in the outdoors, of camping, of self-reliance, of fixing stuff, and doing it all with my family. If you like what you see and you want to keep up to date, make sure to click that subscribe button. And let's go get and see what I got done. Merricks Garage. I never really understood why all of the truck shows always have some deadline that they seem hellbound on missing. I thought, why didn't you just start this project sooner? Well, Rubicon is a week away for me as of filming this, and unfortunately I still have quite a lot to do, so I'm having to basically triage and figure out what is critical, what would be nice. So the items that I've identified as being critical are fixing my steering, fixing the roll cage, and fixing the transcooler, and fixing the gas tank. So gas tank needs to get dropped. I need to swap all the gasket, clean all the gasket out, make a gasket out of this rubber gasket material, put it all back in. I need to cut a hole in the floor to get to the transmission where one of the return lines is crimped. I need to replace that fitting. I need to weld a bracket onto the Heim mount for the steering so that that isn't all wonky, and I need to finish on some of the tube work. Yeah, a lot of stuff to do. This week's gonna be hectic. I got a crazy week. Kids are all heading back to school. Work is nuts. But hey, I'm going to the Rubicon in a week. So no complaining, just more wrenching. Let's go get it. One of the most useful skills that I acquired in the last 5 years or so is welding. And I do use that term lightly. I am not a welder. I can weld on occasion. This repair that I'm trying to do right now is right up the alley of why a welder is so cool for repairs, fabrication, things like that. I have a feed line off the top of the 4L65 that goes to the transmission cooler. It's either return or supply, I don't know which one. But what I think happened is when I flopped the K30 Blazer, I think the transmission bounced off the transmission tunnel, and I have a 90-degree AN fitting that goes to a braided line, and the tube is kinked. So it's restricting flow, it's leaking. I started to notice climbing transmission temperatures, nothing alarming, but just something out of the ordinary. I also noticed that I was leaking transmission fluid and I could not find where it was coming from. Long story short, I can't get to that AN fitting from underneath without dropping the whole transmission, which is a job I'm not really interested in doing right now. So I'm gonna cut a hole in the floor. I've got a little bit of an access point where I know I can get through down to this fitting, and then I'm just gonna patch the panel back up. So let me show you what I'm talking about right here. This is what I used. This was my, on the ground. This is just like a furnace guard. It's nothing special. And then this is the LMC floor. And right there is where I'm gonna cut that will hopefully give me access down to where this piece is. I gotta throw a plug in for this 3-inch Milwaukee Cutoff tool. It's part of their M12 lineup, so it's gonna take all of the M12 batteries. This thing's great. I have used the Milwaukee angle grinder for years and years, and that's still my go-to for grinding, for death wheel, for cutoff wheel stuff that requires, a bit more power. But for cutting panels, for getting into tight locations, and for trimming fenders and stuff, I have yet to find anything that works at all like this. The dexterity and control you have with this handle and it being a tiny head is massively improved over the big, 16-inch long cutoff wheel that I generally use. You don't have much fine control with it. Pick up one of these. They are worth their weight in gold. Yes! I couldn't have asked for more of a perfect cut, huh? So you can see it definitely got kinked. Little keyhole surgery here. This is the new one that's been installed. There we go. My clearance is tight, but it's there. And here's the old one. Now that's how it was kinked. It wasn't actually pierced all the way through. It might have been cracked or fractured, but that was the dent I had in it. Another thing down off the list. Catching up on all of the little things I want to get knocked out, one of which is a CB. I have some ham radios that I use. I have some small Baofeng radios that I use. I do want to get a more powerful car-based unit, but on the trail, CB still kind of rules. I went with a CB because they're really pretty cheap. The one I got was like 40 bucks, and they're pretty ubiquitous. Almost everyone will have a CB, or someone in the group will have a CB. Ham radios, VHF, UHF, that's kind of hit or miss. I can carry one of those and be able to reach everyone on the trail with just my handheld, like 8-watt. But the CB is good for point-to-point communications. So I am mounting this all in. The nest under here is getting a little bit better. Yeah, just trying to figure out where to put this CB. This is the intercom from Rugged Radio that I use, and it rocks. Fun stuff to do. I'm actually getting to burn in a lot of the tube that I've been working on. I still have a little bit of grinding to do, which is like my least favorite thing to do. But then I get to weld in the rest of the cage that I've been putting together. Pretty happy with how the notches have come together. They could be a little bit better, but they are tremendously improved over where I used to be. I'm also putting some steel down here. This is 10 gauge diamond plate that I'm using to plate the top of the bumper and also the back of the truck. This is most likely going to get bolted on, so the body is not directly connected to the bumper here. And this is going to get burned in along this beautiful seam. Thing is getting closer. I got the CB in last night. I had to build a whole new, well, I didn't build a whole new harness for it, but I had power going from my intercom down to the fuse panel, and so I used that power feed and ground feed and did a split, throw in some fuses. Now I've got one point of failure down at the fuse block and then fused all the way to each individual device. And they fit up on the dash. They fit on the dash fairly well. Still gonna take a little bit of massaging, but we're getting there. I'm starting to feel a little bit more hopeful. I still gotta drop the gas tank again, fix some steering, and then consult the list. I have used pretty much every spray paint I can get my hands on, whether it's a high temperature, whether it's a high coverage, whether it's a primer base. I've used the Rust-Oleum bed liner. I've used POR 15 extensively. I've used spray-on bed liners. The Steelit is the real deal. Now, it does take a little bit more prep. You have to make sure that the surface is clean, as you should with any spray paint, but let's just be honest. But with the Steelit, I find that the prep is important, and then the cure time is just as important. You want that product to cure, and then you get like that diamond finish. You get that hard finish. Obviously, the most attractive aspect of Steelit for me is the coverage and protection it gives. It lays down really nice, and when it is hardened, it is like a true stainless steel barrier. It will scratch, but it will scratch and you'll see, you know, that it doesn't get through down to the base metal. In addition to that, you can weld on it. Like, legitimately weld on it. Not, it might work, not, it's adequate, but it's as if you're welding on clean metal. So I just finished up seaming the bumper plate, and there is zero prep done to this weld other than I hit it with a wire brush. and you can see I cleaned the stainless steel plate. I did not do anything for the steelet. I didn't do any of this scrapes until it was all done and in. No popping, no boogers, no... It's awesome. Highly, highly recommend this steelet. I have a lot of the cage coming together here. Pretty happy with how it is lined up and is looking. I'm considering doing a tube right here to basically tie in this junction, which would be like this whole complex down to that right there. See if I can get that done. The tank is out again. This is why. This is the RTV that I put in there, and as you can see, it's okay, but it has got kind of funny. So I'm replacing that. I ordered some gasket material. I made a gasket. So I'm gonna stick this on there, stick that other sleeve back in, and then I've got some gasket material. Let's see if this stuff works any better. I'm just gonna apply, once again, a bead right around here, and then that goes on top.
Since 1985, supporting advances in science, education, and the arts towards a better, more just society. More information is available.
The resistance that this sees is different than what my tank can send. So after trying to change the resistance out on the sender, I'm going with a new gauge. So I just need to connect these wires into the appropriate wires in there, and then I'll just need to program this gauge. You can set this gauge to the ohm reading associated with your pump, which will be pretty cool. So it looks like Autometer has stepped up. This is my old gauge, and this was how everything was connected. Not a big deal, but it just ended up with a lot of stuff behind the dash. They're doing this now. This gives me these, which plugs into that. Hopefully this works. Let's see. We're making some crazy notches. Try and tie in the cage up top to the shock hoop. This is one of the last things I want to get done before I head out. Let's see. Cut 17 times. That's our motto. But we're getting super close. There's one. And then we're just finishing up the other one to get that in. Is this our last cut?
Yeah, I cut once.
Oh, you did?
All right, here we go.
Then what are all these pieces from?
Those are from your measurements. All right, I think.
How much you lopping?
We're gonna go fat this time.
Okay. I guess we can always cut the other one shorter too if we need to.
We're off by quite a bit.
And finally, we got these tubes all in and welded. My plan was to reinforce this right here. This is the shock hoop that obviously the shock is mounted to. It used to connect to the roll cage here. I had to cut it after I flopped. But I think this is a superior solution now. I'm happy with the way this has turned out because I'm still gonna have full use of the rear seats, but I'm triangulated down and up. All I gotta do now is start packing and finish packing. But thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, and check out some of the other videos I've done. There's a lot of them out there. We'll see you soon. Merricks Garage. It's a Milwaukee 3-inch cutoff tool. The Milwaukee, and if you're certified and licensed and insured and bonded and have been through the college course and you have a master's and doctorate in radio talking, otherwise the radio nerds get all mad at you. But anyway, I would rather face mad radio nerds than spend 3 weeks on the trail because I couldn't get a hold of someone to help me fix something on my truck. Anyway,